Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video. So today we're going to be looking at how to fix your Carrera E-Bike. Any electrical issues, we're going to go over it all today. Battery, cutting out issues, sensor issues, motor issues. I'm going to show you how to diagnose the issues. I'm going to show you how to fix them in follow-on videos from this one. So the first thing we need to do is to have a look at the owner's handbook to try and determine what the issue is. So let's get straight over to the bench and have a look at it. Okay, so I've got some of the main owner's manuals here. We're going to be focusing on the Crossfire E, the Subway E and the Vengeance E, and this is going to be for the 2020/2021 series of bikes. I'm also going to be going over where you can get parts for these bikes later on in the video, but first of all we'll have to just get into the diagnosing of the issues so we can figure out what the issue is with your particular bike and then how we can fix it. So we'll start with the Vengeance E. This is the bike that I'm going to be demonstrating most of the fixes on, and there'll also be following videos for Subway and Crossfire E's. The bike that you've seen in the stand is actually just one of the standard Vengeance E's in the men's configuration. That bike there that I've got in the stand, which you've just seen, is just a modified version of that, which has been painted and upgraded. So these are going to be the owner's manuals. Now it's quite confusing which owner's manual is for which bike. You can get these from Halfords.com, but I've made it easy for you by placing them in the description and also putting photos on each manual of which bikes that the manual is applicable for. So for the Vengeance E here, we know that this manual here is for the Vengeance E Women's, the 2021 series, and we know it's a 2021 bike because it's got the new display on there, which is the OLED display, and also where the battery sort of terminal is actually located, the battery power switch, sorry, and the indicator, it's actually at the bottom of the battery in comparison with some of the old versions which are at the top. Now, when you find which owner's manuals for you, so if it's either the Vengeance or we've also got the Subway manual and also the Crossfire E manual, you'll want to go into the manual, the respective manual, and then we're going to want to scroll down to the bottom to the error code list. Now this is going to help us diagnose and fix the issues with your bike. So the main issues that we tend to see with these bikes, especially on some of the ones with the sensor on the outside and not a bottom bracket sensor, is the sensor being snapped. So that's going to be error 21 and error 22. Now you'll see the error hopefully if there's an issue with your bike on the OLED screen. However, I will go over how we can diagnose other issues as well which potentially don't throw an error code. Now error 33, which is a battery communication error, that's going to have to do with the battery cradle, and usually when there's physical movement up and down in the battery. We've got error 41 to error 43, with error 41 being the most common error when we see motor issues. Now when it comes to the motor, the only way to fix a motor issue to have it replaced. Now if you're within the 2-year warranty that Halfords supplies on the bike, it's best to take it back to them and for them to fix it for you. We've also got a couple of other errors dotted along here which usually aren't as common, but the most common errors we tend to see is error 21, 22, 33 and 41. Those are the most common errors. So we've also got other bits and pieces in these manuals which tell you how to use the bike and such, but I'm not going to go into those. I'm not going to go into those today. And yeah, so let's go over to the next section of the video where I'm going to show you where you can get parts for these bikes from. Okay, so we're on powerbikes.uk here now. This is going to be the best place to get your Suntour parts because you can't buy Suntour parts directly from Suntour themselves. They only send parts into the UK through their business-to-business sellers, so that's Grayville Enterprises and also Moore and Large. But unfortunately, you can't buy directly from these suppliers because they're only business-to-business suppliers. So your first place to go is going to be powerbikes.uk. What you want to do is, once you're on the home screen here, and I'll also link to these guys down below as well, is type in Suntour and then it'll come up with all the different Suntour parts here, once it loads up, that is. And then we've got all the Suntour parts that are available. Now, these do tend to go out of stock quite frequently due to the high demand for these parts. However, this is going to be the best place to go to get your Suntour parts. You've got everything here. This is the second place you could go to get your Suntour parts, is eBay. Now, unfortunately, I can't speak for how sort of reputable the sellers are on eBay, and a lot of the parts here end up being a lot more expensive than what you'd find just generally from somewhere like powerbikes.uk or even Halfords. So if I was to type in crank sensor for a Carrera, we can see here that a lot of these aren't even what we're necessarily looking for, but potentially we could put Suntour in and it's going to bring us up a couple of different options. Now, these here, you can see that they're all very, very expensive as well, and they're not necessarily new parts, so I would put eBay down as a last port of call, because a lot of times these are going to be used parts and they might not even work. So definitely steer clear of eBay if you can. So let's hop over to the third place where you can get Suntour, or potentially get these Suntour and Carrera parts from. Okay, so the next place is going to be Halfords. Now, unfortunately, Halfords doesn't necessarily sell these parts direct to consumer. They don't sell them on their website. The best thing that I can find for when it comes down to the Suntour parts, potentially for your Carrera bike on Halfords, I think they only sell chargers. The only way that you're going to be able to get parts from Halfords is to go into one of their stores and speak to a colleague in their store, and they may be able to order it for you depending on their stock levels. Now, unfortunately, I don't have access to stock levels within Halfords, as I'm not associated with them. However, you can try to go into Halfords. They're also going to offer the best prices from my experience. However, it will depend store by store, and some stores will not sell you Halfords parts directly. It's my understanding that they don't necessarily have a policy on if they do or don't sell parts to consumers. So it's worth just going into one of their stores and having a look if you can potentially have a chat with one of the bike desk colleagues to see if they will sell you the Suntour part you're looking for. Within each video, I will offer the part numbers for each part. So let's jump back over to the bike and have a look at the most common issues, and then link to some videos that will hopefully fix those issues for you. So let's jump over and have a look. Okay, so the first place that we want to go is up onto the display. So as I talked about, this display might actually show error codes up here of potentially what the issue with the bike is. If it's showing certain error codes, then it will link to a certain issue which hopefully can be fixed. So that's the first place to go to have a look. If you're wanting to replace your screen on the bike and learn how to do that, I'm going to link to a video below. It's going to be video number 1 on how to replace the screen on a Carrera Vengeance E and also the Subway E, and this applies to then the new type screens, but that's the first place to go. Unfortunately, there's no diagnostics for these bikes, so if there's no error code showing on the screen, then we'll have to have a closer look then at where the issue potentially is coming from, and diagnose it that way by trying to just have a look at the bike. Unfortunately, again, there's no diagnostics for these bikes. So let's go and have a look at the next potential issue that you might have with your bike. Okay, so the next potential issue that you could have is with your sensor here. So these do have a tendency to snap quite a lot. And also potentially, because they're only plastic, if the chain does get stuck in between here where it mounts, then it will have a tendency to snap because it is only plastic. You'll also know if there's an issue with your sensor if the display is showing error 21 or error 22. If you are having issues with your sensor, the video that shows you how to replace your crank sensor is going to be linked down below. It's going to be video number 2, how to replace your crank sensor on your Carrera E-Bike, should be the name of that video. It's linked down below in the description. Any bike that has this style of sensor, the video will apply to. However, I will also show you in that video specifically what bikes it will work with as well, and also go over some more in-depth information about these sensors, where to get the sensors from and which sensor fits your bike, as there are 2 different types. So it's video number 2 in the description for that one. Okay, so the next issue that you could have is with your battery down here. So what could happen is, over time, sometimes these batteries have a tendency to actually work themselves loose. Now, a little bit of play back and forth is absolutely no problem when it comes to these batteries. However, if you have any play up and down whatsoever, then that is likely to cause communication issues with the battery and the ECU, which is down here. Usually the fix for this is replacing the battery cradle. It can also show an error 33 when the battery is shaking back and forth. It can also cause the bike to cut out. So this is also one of the first things that you should check if you're having cutting out issues with the bike, is to just shake the battery up and down like this. If it shakes back and forth, that's fine, but any movement up or down is going to cause that error 33 and for the bike to cut out. To see how to fix that issue, the video is going to be video number 3, how to fix cutting out issues and battery issues. It should be in the description linked below. It's basically just replacing the battery cradle there. So that how to replace the battery cradle and to fix the error 33 code and the battery shaking back and forth, that video is down below in the description, video number 3 for that one. Right, let's have a look at motor issues next. Okay, so the next most common issues that we tend to see is with the motor. So this is going to be error 41, error 42 and error 43. So sometimes what we see is one of the issues being that the motor tends to spin and spin but is not actually powering the bike. Now, if this is the case, then unfortunately the motor has failed. We can also see speed sensor failures, which generally will tend to see something crazy like 55 miles an hour being shown on the speedometer and the motor not actually engaging. If that's happening, then that's also the motor has failed. Or if it's making any unusual noises outside of the usual hum of the electrics, potentially like a grinding or a really loud sort of noise, then this again, the motor has failed. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to these motors, they are very expensive. They're between £300 and £400. If they do fail, there's no way of actually fixing them. However, if you think that there's a motor issue, then it is worth just checking the connection down here between your ECU cable and the motor cable, which I'll just pop a clip on the screen now, and just double checking that connection is secure, because it could work its way loose. If that connection is secure and you're still having issues with the motor, such as the ones I've just described, then yeah, your motor's basically broken and it needs replacing. If it is within the 2-year Halfords warranty, it's worth just taking the whole bike back to Halfords with your proof of purchase and having it replaced with them, as it'll be done for free. Unfortunately, again, it's difficult to get a hold of these motors, so if you were to try and do it yourself, it is difficult, as the motors are quite scarce at the minute, with not many being imported and not many people selling them. I don't even believe the Power Bikes team sell them either. So that is issues that could come from the motor. Okay, so the next issue that you may have with the bike is also potentially cutting out and issues with the ECU. Now, most of the time, an ECU issue won't sort of form in an error code, so it is really just a guessing game. However, this can be the issue potentially with the bike. If you do need to replace the ECU, which is just up here, it's going to be the same across almost the entire Suntour range. Pretty much if you see this box on the bottom of your bike, then this video that I'm about to link to will also help you fix your ECU and well, replace it. So if you do need to replace the ECU, it's going to be video number, I believe we're on video number 4 or 5. Just check the description now and you'll be able to see down there, it should be how to replace the ECU on my Carrera E-Bike. That's also going to be down in the description. Again, these ECUs are quite difficult to get hold of, and also knowing which one's the correct one for your bike is also a sticking point with some people. When it comes to knowing the correct one for your bike, I'll show you how to identify that in that video as well. So that's going to be how to replace your ECU, or if there's issues with the ECU, yeah, how to replace it, as you can't really fix these ECUs, unfortunately. So that's video number 4 now in the description. Alright, so that's everything now. It's worth noting before I end the video that, again, if your bike is within the 2-year warranty, then it's worth taking it down to Halfords. Now, to know if your bike is in the 2-year warranty and you haven't voided it in any way, you need to have the original proof of purchase for the bike, and you need to be the original purchaser, because the warranty is for 2 years and is tied to you and the bike itself as well. So if you're buying the bike second hand, then unfortunately, if you do take it to Halfords, it won't be covered under the warranty. You'll have to either pay for them to fix it or fix it yourself. So we've gone over everything. We've gone over video number 1 with the display and how to replace that, and also the different error codes. Video number 2 with the sensor issues. Video number 3 with the battery issues and how to replace the cradle. We've also gone over video, the motor issues as well. Unfortunately, there's not really much that we can do with motor issues. If you want me to make a video on that, please just request it down below and I will make that. And then video number 4, which is how to replace the ECU. Now, if there's anything I've missed in this one, in this video, please do let me know in the comments. Other than that, this is mainly going to apply to the Carrera Vengeance E. However, in each video, I will go over every single compatible bike with obviously the steps that I'm going to show. So I'll put a list in each video with all of the bikes that the video applies to. So for example, the sensor, if you go to that video now on how to replace it, I'll tell you all of the bikes that the video will work on. Brilliant. So thank you all very much for watching this short video on how to fix your Carrera Vengeance E. Again, if I've not Carrera Vengeance E, your Carrera E-Bike, I should say. Again, if I've missed anything with the bike itself now in terms of fixing it, or if you have any questions or issues, please don't hesitate to comment down below and I will reply. If you've got any other questions, again, yeah, just comment down below. A like and a subscribe would be appreciated, and thank you for watching.